Welcome back, Giant fans. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most electric players in this year's draft, the inside linebacker from LSU, the man in the middle, Devin White. Now, the linebacker position, specifically the inside linebacker position, is very rarely a position that goes top 10 in a draft, but it does happen. Luke Kuechly's an example. He went 9th overall. Roquan Smith's another example, but it's rare. But there are some players that are just special talents that you take them at that spot no matter what. I mean, all you got to do as a Giants fan is look back to last year. Saquon Barkley went 2nd overall. Not many teams are taking a running back there, but the Giants just couldn't pass up Barkley. And I could see White potentially being that type of player for the Giants this year with the 6th overall pick. And the Giants historically have been known as a team with some tremendous linebackers. Now, in recent history, that hasn't been the case. But if you go back to those 80 teams, I mean, with Carson, with Banks, with Taylor, I mean, that's one of the best linebacking cores ever. But in recent history, the Giants, quite frankly, have not been able to draft linebackers to save their life. The last huge impact linebacker they drafted, you got to go all the way back to 1993. Jesse Armstead, they drafted him with the 207th pick overall. Talk about a diamond in the rough. But I mean, in recent times, the last 2 impact linebackers, specifically middle linebackers that this team had, were both acquired via free agency. You had Michael Barrow, who played some time with the Carolina Panthers. He came over here, played well for the Giants. I think he was a part of that 2000 Super Bowl appearance team as the man in the middle. And Antonio Pierce, of course, won a Super Bowl with us, and he was great. But since then, I mean, it has been a huge hole for the New York Giants, and they have not been able to fill it. So Devin White could make sense. 2 linebackers from the past that I think Devin White is most similar to is Jonathan Vilma and Ryan Shazier. Both linebackers were extremely quick. Ryan Shazier, at his pro day, was recorded as running a 4.36 40. Devin White is in that mold. He's going to run a similar 40 time, and they have all had similar traits. Great side-to-side quickness. I think Devin White, though, is a harder hitter than both those guys. I think he's going to be better. Both those guys were top 20 picks, and they're very similar. I mean, if you look at Vilma, almost built the same exact way, 6'1", 230. But I like White even more than those guys. Now, in today's modern-day NFL, at the linebacker position, it is so important to have speed. Not just at the middle linebacker position, but all the linebacker spots, because you have to be able to cover all the moving parts to an offense. The slot receiver, the tight end going out, the running back going out as a wide receiver. You need speed at the linebacker position, even more so than in the past. And Devin White certainly brings that. This guy has such quickness side to side. He was actually recruited as a running back. He was the 5th rated running back in the entire country. In high school, he was tearing it up. He ran over 5,000 yards throughout his high school career. He had a game where he ran over 400 yards. He was ridiculous. And he actually got recruited to LSU as a running back before converting to a linebacker his freshman year, because there was just way too much competition there. And his athleticism is off the charts. He ran a 4.47 40 as a high school freshman when he got an offer from LSU to come play football there. They said, "You're not leaving here without an offer." They offered him as a freshman in high school. He had a 4.47 40 time, and at that point, he weighed 258 pounds. Since then, he has trimmed down to 6'1", 240. So I can only imagine what his 40 time is going to be at the Combine this year. It may approach what Ryan Shazier did when he ran a 4.38 40 on his pro day. So this guy is ridiculously athletic, and he would bring that to the New York Giants, something they have not had for years, a guy that could cover. We all thought that Alec Ogletree would bring that. Alec Ogletree was incredibly disappointing this year in pass coverage. And that, another thing that needs to be said, if the Giants decided to take Devin White, they then would be able to cut Ogletree. That would save them $7 million on this year's cap. So that is something that the Giants, I'm sure, will think about if they like this kid. Devin White grew up in a small town in Louisiana, Spring Hill, Louisiana, which is actually the same town that John David Crow went to, who is the former Heisman Trophy winner from 1957, the running back from Texas A&M. And he's excelled just as much as he has. This guy is going to be a top 10 pick. He has been a stud at the collegiate level. And people knew from the start how good this kid was going to be. There are quotes, when this kid was 10 years old, they knew this kid was going to be playing for a high-end D1 school. And as I said earlier, he was given an offer when he was 14 years old to play at LSU. He was later given offers from Alabama and all the other top teams. But, everybody knew from the start this kid was going to be a stud. Now, when he was a senior in high school, he actually ran into some trouble with the law. He was arrested for having sex with a minor, a 14-year-old girl who was probably a freshman in high school while he was a senior. He spent the night in jail, had $1,000 bail, and then he was still given the permission to go play for LSU. And since then, he has flourished. White's freshman year, as I said earlier, he didn't get a lot of time on the field because they didn't know if he was going to be playing running back or linebacker. He had about 30 tackles, but his sophomore year is where he really exploded. They said last year he was better than Roquan Smith, and Roquan Smith was a top 10 player in last year's draft. And they said he was even better. He just wasn't draft eligible, of course, as a sophomore. But he had 133 tackles, 14 for loss, 4.5 sacks, 3 passes broken. I mean, he was all over the field. And this year was no different. Put up almost identical stats, and he won the Dick Butkus Award, which goes to the nation's top linebacker. It's the same award that NFL greats Von Miller have won, Luke Kuechly have won, Roquan Smith won last year. So he was incredible this year. The numbers back it up. He's a stud on the field. He could do everything you could possibly want in a linebacker. Devin White has all the tools you could want in a linebacker. He's got great instincts, great sideline to sideline quickness. He's a hard hitter. He's great in coverage. He could play both the 3-4 and the 4-3. He has everything you could possibly want. But perhaps the most impressive thing about White is his IQ, his football IQ. All of his coaches say he's like a coach out there. He is the Mike. He is the leader. And he would bring that to the New York Giants. They all say he knows what the offense is going to run before they run it. He's extremely impressive. And a big reason why he knows everything is because of how hard of a worker he is. He is in the study room 24/7. They say he is there an hour, 2 hours before the coaches are. So this guy is a hard worker. He's extremely smart. He's extremely athletic. He's going to blow people away at the combine with his 40 speed. I don't know what's not to like about this kid. The only question is, do the Giants want him? If Haskins is gone, I think he could be a primary target. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Don't forget to ring the bell. And tell me what you think of Devin White. Would you take him number 6 overall? I certainly like the kid, and depending on who's there, he's a guy that I think the Giants should definitely be considering. As always, cheers.